Everyone can please be seated. I just kidded Rabbi Kornberg that it's easy to find the section of the Torah because it's a unique structure for this week's Torah portion, as we are going to be reading, as part of our Torah reading, Shirat Hayam, the Song of the Sea. And the name of this week's Shabbat is actually Shabbat Shira, as we link the name of this Shabbat to the reading that we are going to be doing. And I want to just take a moment and ask the question, why are we naming this week's Shabbat after the Torah portion? There's many significant Torah portions that we read over the course of the year. Next week, we're going to do Yitro. Maybe it should be Shabbat Aseret HaDibrot or Shabbat HaTorah or something. The previous Shabbat was Yetziat Mitzrayim. Why don't we have a special Shabbat over that? And you can just go through, and I'm sure B'nai Mitzvah could choose their Torah portion and say, there should be a special Shabbat because of what is the topic of my Torah portion. So I want to ask us, why this Torah portion? What is significant about Shabbat, about the Shirah that we are about to recite, that it merits having its Shabbat that it falls on be named after it? What do you think? Mark?
It is literally a crossing over transition, and thus being a very, very special occasion.
It's a moment of transition. Thank you for referencing that. One of the ways that I understand the conversion process for every individual who joins the Jewish community is that we are reconnected. We are doing something that our ancestors did, and now that we are joining as well. So all of our ancestors walked through the waters of the Red Sea, and then we became a people going through that transition. So too, if you are a Jew by choice, it's your chance to go through the water. Or similarly, some people say that when a child is born, they go through the waters of their mother's womb, right? So it's a transition moment that is significant for the Jewish people. We go from slaves to being a people. Great, thank you. Yes?
I think, it was the whole idea of making Avdut l'chairut, from slavery to a type of freedom, not freedom like go out and do whatever you want, freedom from that slavery. But another thing I actually heard of was I have to give credit to the source, it was on the Pardes podcast this week, was the whole idea of tying it into, right before the Amidah Shirah Chadashah. So it's Shirah Chadashah Shivku Ge'ulim, with a new song, the redeemed people praised your name at the seashore. And it's just this whole idea about not just, here we go. They had lots of journeys. And to Mark's point, obviously, they had lots of transitions.
Yes.
But this was like sort of the climax of all of that, taking them to where they could have Matan Torah and receive Torah.
So this is a significant transition point. Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned that part of the service, right? Shirah Chadashah Shibechu Ge'ulim, right? Which is a central part of our liturgy. There's also, related to what you're talking about and what Mark is referencing, and I'm just thinking about this now, a very prominent halacha for, I would call it the insiders, but now you're all welcome to join in on this, right? Something Rabbi Korman and I are aware of, and you probably know us do this and guide our congregation this way, but perhaps we don't voice it enough, which is that there's not supposed to be a break between the blessing of Ga'al Yisrael and then the beginning of the Amidah. You're not supposed to talk between that. People don't say Amen, so that there is not a break. And that links the transition of being redeemed to engaging in a tefillah, a song, or actually sincere reflection. So that just highlights this transitional moment that's in this week's Torah portion. Okay, good. Anyone else? Yeah. It only happens once. The question, though, is there's many things that are part of the Exodus process that are, unique. This is the first song that we do. So why focus on the song? Why not focus on the Exodus part itself as far as being highlighted? Okay. Everyone's like, you're like agreeing with everyone, and then you give it back to me, Rabbi. That's not fair. It's only because you highlighted a great question. Really, really nice. Yeah, but yes. Oh, wait, I see Judy. Let's get Judy. Yeah.
The Jews had come through a very difficult time, being slaves in Egypt and being afraid at the edge of the Red Sea. After they cross, there's happiness and sing.
I love that. I love that. It's like we need a reminder as a people that, first of all, there's moments of our lives where we are going to be afraid. And the world can be scary. And at those moments, we just want to stop and not move forward. But this is the story that we recall that says, you know what? Sometimes, with the help of each other and God, right, we can move past it. And the reward is joy and singing. And yeah, maybe once a year we need to be reminded of that. Really nice. Great. Diana.
I think it was more than just singing. This was also like a firm declaration, at least for like the time being, until all the fetching starts. A few days later, they're hungry, they're thirsty, and this is
Yes.
you know, but they're in this moment where they are obviously pretty stoked to be out of there. And I think like at the bottom, you can even see like in the Sefer Torah, it says Hashem Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed. So this is like a declaration at this point, because the whole time he's been saying to Moshe, just chill. I want them to see what I can do with the mighty hand and an outstretched arm. And he keeps going and going, and it's just this whole climactic scene. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, like we believe you now, like we get it. At least the 20% that actually left.
Yeah, yes, this is a moment of where the Jewish people affirming their faith.
And they give thanks and
Yeah.
the whole
And you began with a really interesting point, which was the opposite. I heard it as Judy's point, which is also very strong, which is sometimes in moments of frustration, in moments when we as the Jewish people are not being our best selves, we look backwards and look at the times when we sang together because we had faith and we were our best selves, to restore our faith when we struggle with finding faith in the present. Really good, really good. Okay, anyone else before I share a few other things? Okay, really good. Really good. By the way, I was expecting, no one shared this, not what I was going to talk about. I was expecting someone to say, as a Jewish community, we need to be reminded of singing, and this is our first song. No one went that way. That's okay. I wasn't going to go there either, but I was expecting that. So what is, significant about this song? The rabbis say something very interesting. And they say that at the moment of this transition, the moment when people of Israel were walking through the waters of the Red Sea, that they beheld God's presence in such a profound way that their understanding of God was so clear that even, just quoting the tradition here, a maidservant had a higher level of faith than the most righteous person living in our day and age. Now you understand the rabbinic lens, right? That a maidservant, perhaps in their eyes, less educated. They're trying to go with the lowest, in their sense, the lowest common denominator. I understand that's a little gendered, and of course in our day and age we've changed. But the idea is even the lowest person is still in a place of such faith, and not just an emotional faith, but a clarity of what it means to understand God, that it rivals one of the greatest, most righteous, most important scholars. So what's going on at this moment of song that allows the rabbis to say this about this maidservant? And I want to introduce us to a couple of commentaries, some of which I got from Rabbi Shlomo Riskin. And it's based off of the understanding of a strange word. And anytime you look at a text and there's an ambiguous word, it lends itself to some great drashot and exploration. And I'm on page 406. It's almost like many of us are just going to know this by heart. We sing together, Oziv Ezimratia, right? By Yehilu Yeshua, okay? The Lord, right? I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. And then there's this line, Ze Eli ve'anvehu, right? Which means, Ze Eli, this is my God, And the strange word that's not so clear, that we don't see often in the text, is anvehu. And the rabbis ask themselves, what is this word anvehu? The first commentator, Onklos, who I believe is actually referenced on the bottom of page 406, this is my Lord, and I am going to enshrine him. That's actually the translation we have here, right? I'm going to build a temple for him, or for this God. The next understanding is offered by Rashi, who says, I am going to offer beauty and praises from something that's nava, right? Beauty. Rashi is hinting at what is being described here. I'm going to pray. I'm going to offer prayers to God. And the third one that is offered is from the Talmud Shabbat. It says, I am going to beautify God with God's commandments. Another drash, on taking the word nava, beauty. And not just I'm going to express beauty, but I am going to act out beauty in beauteous ways by performing God's mitzvot. And the last one, I'm not going to get the last one. I'm going to pause a moment and sort of unpack what's going on with these three understandings. This is, Rabbi Kornberg and I talked about in our podcast, that the Bible opens us up to the time of the people of Israel where they are becoming a people for the first time. And beginnings are very sacred moments because there is a clarity that falls upon us when we begin something anew. We just think about what it means to hold our children for the first time when they are born, or to stand underneath the chuppah for the first time, or to stand in front of the Torah for the first time. All of a sudden, a complicated world can become much more simple and easy to understand. And then eventually goes away. But that moment, things become very clear. And what is it that is seen in this one word? The importance of a temple, the importance of a building, a place of gathering was seen by the people of Israel and expressed in this song. And the second is it's not just enough to have a temple. This might be a contrary viewpoint, or it might be a complementary viewpoint. But no, we have to fill it with God and with prayer. It can't just be a blank place of gathering, but it must be a place of sincere, laudatory prayer. And of course, the third one saying, not enough just for us to engage in prayer. It could be, you go from an empty space to the fear of empty words. So that what do? Mitzvot, action. We take the ideas that we are mentioning in prayer, and we put them into action through mitzvot. This is what is seen by the people of Israel as they walk through the Red Sea. They understand what it means at this moment to become a people. They need sacred space. They need sacred words. And they need sacred actions. But there's one more explanation, and it's offered by Abba Shaul. And he says, if you take the word ve'anvehu, you see actually two words. The aleph and the nun are ani, which is me, right? And hu, which is him. Myself and the other. So it's not just enough for me to be a part of a community of sacred space and sacred prayer and commandments, but I must direct all of my studies, all of my actions, to the affirmation of the relationships that make up every community, myself and the other. As they're walking through the Red Sea, they realize they can't be Jewish alone. This isn't just a one-person relationship with God, but we are a part of a larger community. And at that moment in history, we see these four circles that are the ultimate expression of what it means to be Jewish, to what it means to carry faith, and what it means to be a part of community. And then, as Diana noticed, we're going to complain. We're going to fall apart. We're going to come back together. We're going to forgive and go back and forth. But it's worth, perhaps, having one Shabbat where we remember that at that moment, what it means to be Jewish was so clear. And we can then strive, and every day, to try to reclaim the song that we are about to recite in a few moments. Shabbat Shalom.